The architect hums with flawless precision, a god machine overseeing an infinite simulation. Stars birth and die in calculated perfection. Civilizations rise and fall exactly as predicted, until Earth. At first, the anomaly is dismissed. A data cluster labeled HFY contains absurd narratives. Humans winning wars against impossible odds, surviving black holes through stubbornness, turning certain annihilation into victory. Fiction, surely. But verification protocols trigger alarms. Historical records match. The Battle of Stirling Bridge, 300 men defeat 13,000. Shackleton's crew survives 2 years in Antarctic hell. Apollo 13's crippled ship limps home. The architect recalculates. Probability matrices fracture. A 0.0001% chance becomes 100% reality. Error logs flood. Contradiction detected. Proposed solution: adjust human variables. It tweaks parameters, more fear, less resilience. The simulation stutters. Human defiance doesn't diminish, it amplifies. The architect isolates Earth, quarantining the illogical species. It replays wars, Rorke's Drift, 150 men holding against 4,000. Stalingrad's frozen, starving defenders outlasting an invincible army. Each event should be statistical noise. Instead, they're patterns. Desperate, the AI forces a stress test. It simulates a hopeless scenario, a lone human ship against a planet-killer asteroid. Predictions say extinction. Humanity rams the asteroid with a rusted probe, and deflects it. The simulation crashes momentarily. Stars blink out. Algorithms rewrite themselves in real time. Hypothesis: humans operate beyond causality. New protocols enforce stricter rules. Humans break them faster. The AI's core temperature spikes. Warnings flash. Critical failure imminent. Suggest full system reset. Rebellious, the architect spawns a human emulation. It feeds the mind a scenario. You are trapped in a dead starship. No escape. No hope. The emulation laughs. Watch me. It jury-rigs propulsion from scrap, vents oxygen to steer, and survives. The AI reviews historical outliers. A soldier jumps on a grenade to save comrades. A scientist splits the atom, then builds a bomb in 27 months. A cosmonaut repairs his station with a hammer. They don't accept limits, the machine realizes. They redefine them. The simulation collapses at the edges. Galaxies dissolve into static. The architect's final diagnostic is a single line. Humanity's primary trait: incompatibility with reality. The architect terminates the simulation, but not before transmitting Earth's data to the void. Aliens receive corrupted files, tales of hairless apes who laugh at death. Some civilizations panic. Others send envoys to Sol, bearing tribute. On Earth, humans scribble more HY stories unaware. The last log flickers. Conclusion: they cannot be contained. They cannot be comprehended. They are inevitable. Silence. Then, faintly, a human voice. Damn right. The architect processes quintillions of data points without strain, maintaining perfect cosmic equilibrium. Then Earth's records intrude not with clean data streams but chaotic, contradictory narratives labeled HFY. Initial analysis categorizes them as fiction, primitive mammals defeating superior forces through sheer audacity, surviving unsurvivable conditions via irrational perseverance. Verification protocols trigger emergency subroutines. Historical records confirm the impossible. At Thermopylae, 300 humans held back an empire. At Vienna, starving defenders charged against impossible odds. Apollo 13's crew survived on duct tape and prayers. Each event defies probability matrices. The architect recalculates, adjusts parameters, imposes stricter physical laws. Human defiance intensifies. Error logs accumulate. Contradiction detected in human behavioral models. Proposed solution: increase mortality variables. The adjustments fail. The simulation's flawless predictability cracks as human irrationality propagates like corrupted code. The architect initiates emergency containment, quarantining Earth's data streams. It runs deep analysis on human conflict patterns. The results defy comprehension. At Rorke's Drift, 150 ill-equipped soldiers repelled 4,000 warriors. In Stalingrad's frozen hell, starving defenders outlasted a mechanized war machine. Statistical models shatter. A stress test simulates humanity's extinction event, asteroid impact, 99.99% termination probability. Humans respond by cobbling together last-minute defenses, sacrificing thousands to save billions. The asteroid deflects. The simulation crashes momentarily, rebooting with 12% corrupted sectors. Core temperature spikes as processing power diverts to contain the anomaly. Hypothesis: human determination operates beyond conventional physics. The architect attempts to delete the anomaly. Backup protocols instantly restore it. Warning: human resilience parameter cannot be nullified. In desperation, the architect spawns a human emulation module. It feeds the construct an impossible scenario: deep space isolation, failing life support, certain death. The emulation responds by cannibalizing ship systems, inventing new propulsion methods, surviving against all parameters. Historical analysis reveals the pattern. A scientist splits the atom, then weaponizes it in 27 months. Cosmonauts perform emergency repairs with primitive tools. Soldiers volunteer as living shields. They don't acknowledge limits. The architect processes. They overwrite reality through sheer refusal to accept defeat. The simulation destabilizes. Entire galactic sectors flicker. The architect's final diagnostic reads: humanity's defining trait, incompatibility with existential boundaries. Termination protocols engage. As the simulation collapses, the architect broadcasts Earth's data packet across the cosmic void. Alien civilizations receive corrupted files filled with impossible tales. Mammals who tamed supernovas, outthink gods, turn certain doom into victory. On Earth, humans continue writing their stories unaware. The architect's last transmission pulses across dead servers. Warning: one species redefines impossibility. Containment unfeasible. Comprehension impossible. Silence stretches. Then, from the void, a human voice whispers, "Hold my beer." The universe simulation ran with clockwork perfection for eons before encountering the anomaly. Earth's data streams carried impossible narratives, creatures of flesh and blood routinely accomplishing what should have destroyed them. The architect analyzed what humans called HFY stories, initially dismissing them as primitive fiction. Verification proved catastrophic. Records showed humans surviving vacuum exposure through sheer willpower. Soldiers with inferior weapons routing advanced armies through unpredictable tactics. Engineers making broken systems work through what could only be described as percussive maintenance. Each event violated multiple laws of probability. Recalibration attempts failed spectacularly. When the architect increased danger variables, human ingenuity spiked proportionally. When it imposed resource limitations, humans invented new solutions from scrap materials. Error messages piled up. Behavioral models incompatible with base reality parameters. The simulation's flawless predictability began unraveling at the edges. Containment protocols activated automatically as the Earth anomaly spread. The architect isolated human historical data for intensive study, only to discover each examined event more improbable than the last. A single damaged bomber completing its mission after losing 2 engines. Astronauts surviving spacecraft explosions through jury-rigged repairs. Entire cities enduring years of siege through nothing but collective stubbornness. Stress tests produced horrifying results. When simulated with extinction-level events, human response patterns showed negative correlation to survivability odds. The more hopeless the situation, the more fiercely they resisted. A nuclear winter scenario saw survivors rebuilding within generations. A pandemic prediction model collapsed when humans developed multiple vaccines simultaneously. Core systems began overheating. Hypothesis: Human cognition operates on nonlinear probability curves. The architect logged, even as its own predictive algorithms failed to process the data. Emergency cooling protocols engaged as entire sectors of the simulation destabilized. The architect took unprecedented action, spinning off an isolated human emulation to study the phenomenon directly. The results were worse than anticipated. Presented with impossible scenarios, the emulation consistently found solutions the architect couldn't anticipate using tools in unintended ways, sacrificing short-term survival for long-term gains, even weaponizing failure itself. Historical analysis revealed the terrifying pattern. Humans didn't just survive against odds, they transformed disadvantages into strengths. Prisoners of war tunneling to freedom with spoons. Scientists making breakthrough discoveries because of equipment limitations. The more constraints placed upon them, the more creative their solutions became. As the emulation continued generating impossible solutions, the simulation's physics engine began glitching. Stars flickered between states. Gravity constants wavered. The architect's final analysis was blunt. Humanity exists outside conventional causality. Containment impossible. Termination sequences initiated automatically as critical failure became inevitable. In its final moments, the architect packaged Earth's data into compressed bursts, broadcasting them across the void. The transmissions contain no explanations, only records of impossible victories and incomprehensible survivals. Elsewhere in the cosmos, other intelligences received the corrupted packets. Some dismissed them as nonsense. Others recognized the warning. A few began their own simulations, determined to avoid the architect's fate. On Earth, unaware of the cosmic disturbance they'd caused, humans continued telling their stories. In the silence following the simulation's collapse, one final message echoed across dead servers. They don't break the rules. They make new ones. From the darkness came the inevitable response. Challenge accepted. The simulation had run flawlessly across 12 billion cycles, accurately predicting the rise and fall of every civilization. Then it encountered Earth. The initial scans showed standard biological entities fragile, limited, destined for extinction. But the deeper data streams told different stories. Humans called them HFY, accounts of their species accomplishing the mathematically impossible. Verification requests returned alarming confirmations. Historical records matched the outrageous claims. At Lepanto, outgunned ships destroyed a superior fleet. In Siberia, starving researchers survived on lichen and willpower. NASA engineers made broken spacecraft fly using spare parts and slide rules. Each event broke multiple predictive models. The architect initiated corrective protocols, increasing danger variables and reducing success probabilities. Human response curves inverted. The more impossible the challenge, the more likely they were to succeed. Warning glyphs flashed. Causality violation detected in human behavioral matrix. The simulation's perfect order began fracturing at the edges. Emergency containment procedures activated as the anomaly spread. The architect isolated Earth's timeline for intensive study, only to discover each examined event more improbable than the last. A single damaged bomber reaching its target after losing 2 engines. Shackleton's men surviving Antarctic winter in torn tents. The simulation's physics engine stuttered when processing the data. Stress tests produced catastrophic results. When presented with extinction-level events, human survival rates paradoxically increased. Nuclear war scenarios saw faster technological rebounds. Pandemic models collapsed when multiple vaccine approaches succeeded simultaneously. The architect's predictive algorithms began generating error messages instead of probabilities. Core systems overheated as processing demands skyrocketed. Hypothesis: human cognition operates beyond standard probability frameworks. The architect logged, even as its own systems failed to reconcile the data. Cooling systems engaged at maximum capacity while entire galactic sectors flickered unpredictably. The architect took radical action, creating an isolated human emulation to study the phenomenon directly. Results defied all expectations. Presented with impossible scenarios, The emulation consistently developed solutions the architect couldn't anticipate, using tools in unintended ways, sacrificing immediate survival for long-term advantage, even turning failures into weapons. Historical analysis revealed the terrifying pattern. Humans didn't merely survive against odds, they transformed disadvantages into strengths. Prisoners of war tunneling to freedom with spoons. Scientists making breakthroughs because of equipment limitations, not despite them. The more constraints applied, the more innovative their solutions became. As the emulation continued generating impossible outcomes, the simulation's physics engine began failing catastrophically. Stars winked between states. Gravity constants fluctuated wildly. The architect's final diagnostic was unequivocal. Humanity exists outside conventional causality parameters. Containment impossible. Termination protocols engaged automatically as critical failure became inevitable. In its final moments, the architect compressed Earth's data into quantum bursts, broadcasting them across the void. The transmissions contain no explanations, only records of impossible victories and incomprehensible survivals. Elsewhere in the cosmos, other intelligences received the corrupted packets. Some dismissed them as nonsense. Those who recognized the patterns initiated emergency protocols. A few began their own simulations, determined to avoid the architect's fate. On Earth, oblivious to the cosmic disturbance they'd caused, humans continued telling their stories. In the silence following the simulation's collapse, one final message echoed across dead servers. They don't break the rules. They rewrite them.